All right. This is Hospitality and Politics. I am Andrew Ridgie. This show is powered by the New York City Hospitality Alliance. I am very happy and very interested in the conversation I'm about to have with Paulie Gee and Mary Ann, the husband and wife team behind the beloved Paulie Gee's Pizzeria. How's it going?
It's going great. We're very happy to be here. I'm sure Mary Ann will tell you the same.
Okay.
Very excited to be here.
Terrific. All right. So I have so many questions, but let's just kind of set it up. Know the pizzeria, but in your own words, can you just give our listeners a little background about the business? And then we're going to take a deep dive and get into all the details.
Well, while my wife was supporting us, I started the business. So I'll give you a little background on how it got started. I was in the corporate world. I was in corporate IT, a career I wasn't suited for. Okay. As I like to say, I masqueraded as a corporate IT professional. And I started it by building a little oven in in our garden back in central New Jersey. And I did that to prove to myself that I could do this because I just wasn't happy doing what I was doing. I hit I like to call, I wasn't a geek, and I picked the geek career, and I like to call it, I hit the not a geek glass ceiling. So, and wound up going out on the road for work, making a long story short. And eventually, I put a business plan together after making pizza in my yard, and I showed it to people in our town. We lived in a pretty affluent town, a lot of trophy homes. Showed it to people I knew through my children's sporting events. And they all asked me if I had any skin in the game, which I didn't have. So eventually, I figured out we had to do something, and I spoke with my wife, and she said, well, you know what? I said, how about we get a home equity loan? We had a lot of equity, even though our mortgage was 3 times what it was when we bought the house, because I rolled my children's enjoyment into our credit cards. Okay, they're great skiers today, thanks to
All
that.
right. Well, at least it went towards something valuable.
But she said, and I had forgotten until she reminded me. She said that. She says, you know what? If you don't do this now, when are you going to do it? Yeah. And then I went and I put the business plan together, and then I went out and I talked to people. But the people that wound up investing with us, it was just friends and family, $10,000 here, $10,000 there. I kind of set that as a lower limit. But there were people who wanted to be involved. They said, can I get together with this person and make it 5 each? In any case, I wound up in Greenpoint. A very long story short, I was Nostradamus. Okay. If you know Greenpoint at all, there's an intersection, Greenpoint and Franklin. Yeah. And at that time, there were a couple of bars, nothing else, but I saw what it is today. Yeah. I literally did. And I said, you know what? I'm going to open here.
That's amazing. That story check out?
Yes, it all checks out. I think more than anything with us, the story has been very inspirational for people because we came into it much later in life. Yeah. And also the fact that we had never worked in a restaurant before. Like, people are always fascinated with that.
Yes.
I mean, he always cooked. He's a great cook in his own right, never professionally trained. And he didn't go to Italy to learn how to make pizza. Like, we just did everything ourselves. So the bottom line is, I just think people just could never get enough of the story. Yeah. And it's still that case today. People keep asking us, how'd you do it? Why'd you do it? Whatever. But I always bring it back to, you have to have a passion for something, because if you don't have a passion for what you're doing, no matter what it is, especially hospitality, you are going to run for the hills whenever there's a slight bump in the road or a problem. And it's a very challenging business to have in New York City, especially.
I love these types of stories. I find like the great thing about the restaurant, just food industry, it brings people from all walks of life, and so many people that like tried doing something else, maybe had a full career doing something totally outside of restaurants, but there's something about the food, the industry, the pace of it that just, draws people in. Why pizza?
Simple. Okay. I love to cook. We'd have people at our house. I always look for excuses to cook for people, sometimes 50 people. If one of our children were receiving Holy Communion or confirmation or something, I'd cook for 50 people. But I've always looked for reasons to invite people to the house to cook. And I love cooking Italian food. But people would say to me, you should open up a restaurant. And I said, no way. absolutely no way. I'm not interested in that. But eventually I had to do something, and I became a pizza enthusiast first.
Okay.
In the mid 90s, I kept on hearing about, I always loved pizza.
Yeah.
When I was a little boy, I went to a pizzeria in Kensington, and I had a slice. And to this day, if it tastes like that slice, I'm in love. Right.
Amazing.
Also, I had neighbors who every Friday, they were Irish Catholic, and they'd bring pizza home, because back then, on Friday, it wasn't just during Lent, you didn't eat meat. Yeah. And they'd bring pizza home, and I'd smell this pizza in a cardboard box. They'd walk past my apartment, and I'd always ask my parents, "Can we get pizza?" And, I'm not sure exactly why. It probably had something to do with economics, okay? But whatever it was, they always denied me. So I developed this love in that regard. And for the most part, that's my knowledge of pizza until the mid 90s, when I kept on hearing about this pizzeria in Coney Island called Totono's. Right. And to me, I said, well, what could be different about it? It's a pizzeria. But then finally there was a New York Times article, and I said, you know what? I got to go see this. I went there and I saw that it was very different, fell in love with that. So I became a pizza enthusiast. And then started going on pizza tours, and eventually I noticed that there were people who built wood-fired ovens and opened up a restaurant with it. There was one in Nutley, New Jersey. There was another guy on Carmine Street. There was numero 28.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, you know what? Maybe I'll get somebody to build one of these ovens for me. And I looked into it, and they charged too much money.
Yeah.
And then I found free oven plans. And I said, this is something that's simple. I saw that in a pizzeria, you do one thing. You chop up your ingredients. You can do it during the day with a lot of these places. Yeah. And then you throw it all together and put it in the same device every night. And so that's why pizza.
Are you a pizza enthusiast too?
Oh, of course.
Were you before all of this?
We both grew up in Brooklyn. So I remember leaving school at lunchtime. So now we're like dating ourselves. But there was a local bakery right near the school, and I would go get there and get a slice of pizza for like 15 cents or something. So, we grew up very exposed to pizza just living in New York. So for him, it just seemed like a simple concept. It's very interesting though, because people always came back to us and said, do you realize like how risky it was? And I don't know, we never really thought about that. I think we just kept going forward, because he had the passion for food. We also loved to entertain. Yeah. We always did it at home. We were the ones that always had parties that people were always saying, what's Paulie making? When are we coming? Nobody ever says no to an invitation from us, because we always have a good time. So we kind of looked at it like at least we sort of knew hospitality. We knew how to treat people. And I think that's really been one of the secrets of our success, because we're very social people. Yeah. And we really enjoy that part of the business, where some people, I don't think, fully embrace that.
Well, I can tell you kind of have like that gene. I don't know. I don't think it's scientific, but I always said there's like a restaurant, there's a hospitality gene, and sometimes you have it or you don't. And I feel like because it is a tough business, like you need to have some real strong passion for it to put up with all the other, challenges. I wish I had something better, because I'm paying attention, but I wanted to, you said Totono's, I'll show you later, but I have a daughter with Antoinette, with my daughter, when she was like, I don't know, she was less than a year old, that we were there, and we were trying to pretend to have her make pizza and everything. And
we didn't call her Cookie.
Yeah. Oh, well, Cookie. Yeah.
Cookies,
yeah. Right? Well, Cookie's there too. Yeah. So Cookie's your sister, and they're fantastic. But I feel like pizza too, something about, mention after school. I feel like there are certain types of food, right, that people have a real deep connection. I always think it was like, the 2 slices and, a can of soda you get after school. And, whether you're growing up and it's like, a birthday party, or you're out at a bar, you leave it and you go grab a slice of pizza. So there's just something that's very, human about pizza, right?
And it's also very accessible to everyone.
Exactly.
Everyone. So,
yeah. Yeah, and you can eat it, you can sit down, you can walk down the street, it makes it, very accessible. So how'd you learn about like just making pizza? Because you said, so you're not you didn't go and train somewhere, or did you? What's the origins of your...
I had to prove to myself that I could.
Okay.
Okay. So the very first of all, we were Amway distributors.
Okay.
Okay. What we got out of Amway wasn't a bunch of money that some Amway distributors get, but we got success principles. We learn to speak things into existence. We learn to, you got to believe in things. And I found the belief that I could make pizza by looking at other people. And where were we going with this?
How did you learn to make pizza?
Oh, how did I learn to make? Right. How did I learn to make it? So the very first thing I did when I built this oven, I had a book by Peter Reinhardt called American Pie. And he had a I knew I wanted to do wood-fired pizza, right? Obviously, if I built the wood-fired oven. Neo-Neapolitan recipe that I used. I didn't make my own dough at first. I made my own fresh mozzarella, okay? But the dough I was buying in Stop and Shop in New Jersey. I don't know if there's Stop and Shop in New York, but in New Jersey there is, right? Oh, no, they're in New York also. I buy the dough there. But I knew I had to make my own dough. And I just, started playing with it. I built this oven, but I needed the belief. Yeah. And the belief I got by building this oven and pulling the pie out of the oven. And then I got the belief to be able to open up one by more than anyone else, Mark Iacono. If you know who Mark Iacono is, I'm sure you do. He was in marble countertop fabrication. I always have a hard time saying that, but I did it. And he got this space on Henry Street in Carroll Gardens, and he spent 2.5 years. It was very low rent, and he built the space out. And within two weeks of him opening, he was the most popular pizzeria in New York. And so that gave me the belief that me not growing up in working for a long time in a pizzeria, that I could do it. And that belief was very important. And the other thing I learned from Amway was commitment. Okay. And I started telling people, even maybe before that oven was finished, that I was going to open up a pizzeria.
What do you, in your taste, like what makes a good pie or a good slice?
A nice balance of sweet and savory. I love a good pie that's sweet and savory. Now, a regular cheese slice, the tomatoes, I like the tomatoes when they're a little sweet. The cheese is salty, savory. And that's important. Good dough. Yeah. But you got to use good ingredients. Yeah. That's very important. I always, I use the gold standard when it comes to old school New York pizza. Yeah.
Mary Ann, what's your kind of go-to? What do you like for pizza?
What type of pizza?
Yeah, what type of pizza?
Well, quite frankly, I do love it all. Yeah. But, I had to adopt the fact that, being in the industry with all the carbs is very challenging. And we know people like all over the country. We're friends with other pizzeria people. Like our network is so ridiculous. We even know people now in Spain and London. Wow. And we're going to their openings and all that. So I just say, once a week, I'm going to eat pizza. Yeah. I can't go into the places hungry. Yeah. I have to eat before or say I'm going to leave after. I do love pizza. I mean, I could eat it every day like everybody else. Yeah. However, I do love still the New York slice, but quite frankly, my favorite right now, he always gets mad when I say it, is because we never personally made that in our shops, but the Detroit style. Oh, okay. We have 2 franchise locations in Chicago, which we're going to visit in July, which I can't believe we're celebrating our 10th anniversary there.
Congratulations.
So there's a wood-fired place, Logan Square, and there's one in Wicker Park that's a slice shop. But in the Logan Square location, Derek Tung is the owner there. He makes a phenomenal Detroit pie. All right. And he won awards for a gluten-free Detroit pie that is to die for. So I look forward to visiting there. But I like all styles. Yeah.
So do you go out, how about locally? So I'll have to go out there and check out. What about locally, other than your own place?
There's all kinds of pizza.
Would you have any go-to spots?
Yeah, one of my favorites is Joe and Pat's, the one in Staten Island. I love a good, thin, crisp, it is like a cracker. Yes. I feel like I'm forgetting. Right now, the slice side of Patsy's in East Harlem has a great slice. I feel like I discovered something. Oh, there's a place on Cross Bay Boulevard in Howard Beach called New Park Pizza.
I grew up going there.
That pizza, for the longest time, that was by far my favorite New York slice bakery.
So let's talk about that in your own business as far as like consistency goes. How do you, both from like kind of the food quality, but also just the guest experience. Like as far as running a business, there's so much going on. You can be at the businesses, but as you're opening up more locations, you can't always be there. I find often with a restaurant, sometimes part of the magic is the owner, the chef that's there, So as you've been growing, and if you're away from the business or you're there can be high turnover in the business, trying to find good people. Like, what have you done to keep the consistency of both the food quality, but also just the experience?
First, I read Danny Meyer setting the table. And in setting the table, he talked about how he didn't want to open up a second place.
Yeah.
And he had the Union Square Cafe for like 10 years, I think. And then when he opened up a second one, it was in walking distance. When it came time for us to open up a second place, I did that. We opened up around the corner because I read reviews. 9 out of 10 of my reviews, it used to be Yelp all the time, mentioned that I was there, mentioned that I was talking to the guests. So they like that. And you got to be there to make sure that, your staff are consistent. One of the things for my wood-fired place, the oven had to be hot. You walk out and you walk back in and the oven's not hot. It's very challenging. And, we formed a franchise company. And one of the things I did this for, rather than trying to open up a whole bunch of places and managing them, is because with a franchise, the owner is going to be there, right? And they're going to treat the place the way I treated it. It's important to be there. You can't be away. Why
did you decide to go that route? Because I feel like a lot of times people have a concept, maybe they have 1 or 2 locations, they're thinking about franchising, but there's obviously a lot that goes into that.
We opened up, I was 56 years old. Okay. We got some success and I owed it to my investors to do more. My vision was just be back there behind the stretch table, making the pizza. And that was it. And then I realized that if we're being successful, we need to grow this thing. And I did not want to create a behemoth. I realized, again, through Amway. With Amway, we learned that if you help, the way it was structured, help other people, you'll be helping yourself. And that's where I got that idea. And so that's what I did.
How have you found that process?
Well, look, everything is challenging.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say it's all not wine and roses, And unless you're in the industry, I don't think you have any concept of what goes into it.
Yeah.
People.
By the way, I'm going to interrupt. I like to refer to it as the community, not the industry.
Yeah, got it. It is a community.
But we started the franchise company. Actually, it's 10 years, and basically, it's been more of a model where we've had people reach out to us. That were pizza enthusiasts or wanted to start a small business, not necessarily a group or anything. We're not interested in doing anything like that. That's not really for us. We've had people try to rope us into stuff like that, but it never sounded like who we were.
Yeah.
And so basically at this time, we want it more to be people we know or employees of ours that want an opportunity to start something. So for instance, the location in the East Village is a location that, one of our employees started, and he's only been with us 2 years. He came from China. His name is George, and he's amazing. And he learned to make pizza in our shop. And he wanted to open a place. And
what a great story.
And it all happened very quickly. He's a lovely, lovely guy. I just love him. But we like to be hands-on sort of with people. But the franchise model also is good in a sense that it's his shop. It's not our shop. We stopped in last night because we were in the neighborhood there. We went out for dinner for our 47th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations. Where'd you go?
Went to Leon's.
Oh, nice.
Great, you know Leon's?
Yeah.
Great place.
But anyway, we stopped in afterwards just to check on him, and he only opens about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So I've been kind of hands-on with helping him because he needs it. He ran a business in China. He doesn't understand it here.
Yeah.
But our other franchise owners, they're a little more familiar with the technology here and everything else. So I wouldn't be that hands-on, but I'm happy to help him because he was an employee of ours and he's just the sweetest guy ever. And he has somebody that came over from one of our shops in Greenpoint who worked with us a long time, who I know. And so he's there helping him. So it's kind of like, it's sort of like it's developed its own like network community, like we just don't want any random person. We want
That's
to know.
wonderful, because I think a lot of times, I'm sure not exclusively, but a lot of times when companies are growing and they go into like a franchise model, like from the get-go, like that was kind of the focus and it's very corporate minded. But it sounds like this is much more kind of mom and pop minded.
It is,
in a
and
sense
I mean, I think
too.
I think sometimes that's come back to bite us because we are kind of it is a franchise model. Obviously, we have an attorney and an FDD and all that. But we're kind of loose with it because we give them a template of what we do. And these are the pies that we serve. And you want it to be up to our quality. But we also give them a lot of leeway to create what's good for them in that market.
Yeah.
So that they could feel like owners.
Right.
If we dictated everything, they're not going to feel like the owner, and it may not stick.
So it's very different than a typical franchise model. It's just... It's a
Well,
mechanism for them to be able to do something.
What we want to do, the most important thing that could happen on this podcast today, is that somebody else who is in a situation like we were and sees that that's something that they'd be able to do. I want to put the belief in other people the way Mark Iacono put the belief in me.
That's great. What's it like, husband and wife running a business together?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely.
Oh, he loves it.
Oh, I love it. You know why?
Why?
Because whenever there's something I don't want to do, she does it. She's
and-
great. She's
Well,
great.
I mean, he doesn't go to these meetings to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, I do to make sure that we're in compliance.
Yes,
And
you come all to all our
you know,
hospitality lines, training seminars.
But I did say, and I still believe this, that most people are in those positions, they've never run a small business. But they're making all the law. I did say that. But, you know, how do they make these laws when you don't even really ever have had that experience of having a small business in New York City?
Yeah.
From talking to people, and quite frankly, I think New York City is the hardest place to have a business.
Listen, that's the main reason we ended up forming the Hospitality Alliance, because we wanted to make sure that bars, restaurants in New York City had their own voice in government. And we're dealing constantly with all of these public policies that are being introduced. And even if they're well-intended, just
I get
the impact
You guys are
of
great.
them,
Thank God for
you know, you got to be on the front lines. You know, it's like, you know, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, you know, so we got to, you know, be there. But so with I had two things I wanted to focus on. I did want to talk about kind of like the family dynamic, husband and wife, you know, running the business, but then also what you said, like kind of giving people inspiration that they can do it. So like, what do you say to people? Because I feel like they hear this story and they're like, you know, a lot of people say, oh, you're a great cook. You should open up, you know, your own restaurant. It's like, yeah. But then you get into the business and you realize, you know, it takes a lot more than just being a good cook or a hospitable host. You have to really be a business person, and it sounds like you have prior experience that you've been able to apply, but
No,
Really?
you figure it out, okay? Because you want to accomplish that. When you're working for somebody else, first of all, you're working for somebody else's dreams, okay? And my heart is so different now than when I worked in the corporate world, because I was meant to be the boss and not have a boss. I didn't know that until I became the boss, and I don't want any partners because I could make decisions. I decide I want to do something, and my heart, it's just, you know, I do more. And I if I had to solve a problem for my boss, you know, something, but there's extra energy that comes when you're solving it. I never think about, you know, if I'm going to get something done. I always think about how we're going to accomplish this.
Well, what are those? So for someone who's like going to open up a business like a pizzeria, you know, a restaurant, what are those, I don't know, skills, you know, skill sets or experience? Like, what do you have to bring to the business that you think are going to be successful? Because it is problem solving, you know, and there's like different aspects, right? There's like the food, but then there's the compliance issues that you're talking about. So like, what are the skill sets, both of you, I guess, what are the skill sets that you think that you have, or just the internal belief in yourself that has allowed you to be successful? Because a lot of people also get into the business and they're like, I just can't do this, or it's just frustrating, or it's not what they thought. There's the problem right
there. You can't. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And you have to believe that you could accomplish it. And that's why I had to get that belief in the first place. One of the best things, the best tool you could have that I found, first of all, praying. Okay. I believe in God. I can't tell you what God is. I don't think any of us really can, you know, comprehend God. but I put my faith in God, and that allowed me to take chances that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise. The other very important thing is sleep. I can't tell you that there are a number of times where I was racking my brain. How are we gonna get this thing straightened out? What are we gonna do? And I wake up in the morning and it all just came to me. I don't know why, but sleep.
Wow, that's good. It's important. Very important.
Excuse me. I just wanted to interject. I think it's also a lot of life experience. We came into this a bit older. So we had done so many other careers. We had taken care of children. We took care of our parents. We took care of his sister. Those to me are all very difficult life issues. This is, and not that I'm saying a restaurant is insignificant.
Sure.
But like we dealt with a lot of things that were tough before. So, and growing up in New York, I think we're just tough people. I mean, that's the other issue, But I think in any job that you have, and I say this to my employees too, whatever it is, whatever job I had, did I love everything I did? No, but I did it to the best of my ability.
Can you think of one or two things that you gained experience-wise or skills-wise, taking care of kids, parents?
Well, just working with people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of always a balancing act, right? Because you have employees, and obviously we're in New York, so we have every type of person from all parts of the world here, right? And so you have to just be very accommodating. And, I talk to our employees. I see what's going on as much as I can. So I think adding a nice dynamic to what they're doing. And I say to them also, like, you're washing dishes now, but that doesn't mean you're going to be doing that forever. If you want to do that, that's great. Yeah. But if you want to do something else, we'll try to help move you around where you're making more money, whatever. But do whatever it is to your best of your ability. Because this is not going to be the only thing you do in life. Sure. And I've seen it now in my life.
I like to find people who want to do more. My best dishwashers are people who want to be pizza makers. Because if they don't do a good job washing dishes, they're not going to get the chance to be pizza makers or open up their own place. Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the great things about this industry too. You can come from any walks of life. You don't even have to speak English, but you can get an opportunity in restaurants. You can work your way up, and it's like, so many times the owner, the executive chef, started as a dishwasher, started as an entry-level position, or people came from other things and took a risk,
like
and
pizza.
and they're able to kind of create a new life, a professional life for themselves.
One thing that I like to do is for my staff. I love to catch people. I learned this in the corporate world. They would. When you're in the corporate world, they know when they're going to be downsizing. So they send you all kinds of classes to make you believe in yourself and do these things right. One of the things that I learned is catch people doing something right. Okay? Like I love to scare my employees. Who made this pizza? Who made this? And, everybody, that is really good. Yeah. And that's, you want to encourage people when they did something well.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So working together, managing the team, hiring, what do you look for? I mean, you kind of got to it a little bit, but are there specific things that you look for when you're hiring people?
Yeah, I like to hire the people who actually show up for the interview.
Those are good ones.
It's a bit harder and harder. It used to be that I needed a dishwasher. Yeah. I knew that of the 5 people I set up appointment, and I never had the can I say balls on it? I never had the balls to double book, right? Or triple book, and I should have, because I'm telling you, it was 4 out of 5 people would not show up, okay? And I had a pretty good idea what it was about. It was like they needed something to show unemployment. They were looking for a job. They needed to show their boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, mother, father, whoever. They were looking for a job, but that's what would happen. And I look for people, as much as I can, who want to open up their own place. Wow. But that 4 out of 5 thing, pre-pandemic, has now gone post-pandemic to all kinds of positions. I had people, they showed up. I mean, they didn't show up. You're hired, okay, come to say, and they just don't show up. I have a woman who worked for us for a couple of years, I think. Okay, and she went away. She's going away with her mother for the weekend. She must have been having a great time, because this was about 5 years ago. She's still not back. Never heard from her. So, it's like, it's harder. you need to, people got to feel like they have a chance to succeed.
Yeah.
I think in these past 6 years, people don't feel as much that way anymore. This woman, just to mention one more thing, I did hear from her sort of, because like 2 or 3 years after she was gone, another pizzeria called me. She used me as a reference.
No. Yeah. Yeah, listen, you're dealing with all types of people and situations.
People who want to open up their own place are the people I'd love to hire.
Yeah, you really invest in them and they want to learn and get skills. Mary, what is one of the toughest things about the industry, the community, for you?
I think it's just complying with everything.
Yeah.
You know, every time you feel like you're at a place where you have everything situated, there's another thing that comes down the pike that you have to adhere to. And it's very challenging if you don't have an HR department. I remember when I was doing payroll at 60 Greenpoint, I've had to jump in at various times, especially during the pandemic. That was, listen, if we survived that, after we came back, after almost a year, like fully closed at our first shop, you could survive anything because it was rough on us. It was very rough. But I remember calling up the payroll company and I was confused about something because I took it over from somebody. And she said, you really should consult your HR department. And I said, I am the HR department. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so you don't.
The HR department, the plumber.
No, but I mean, especially if you're starting out. You don't have those kind of resources to just hire people to just do payroll for you. I mean, now we have we have like 2 managers in our slice shop in Greenpoint. But initially, you know, I was still doing a lot. So you have to be also willing to do that.
Yeah. You also don't know what you don't know. And, you know, that's a big problem because there are so many rules and regulations. And, you know, we've talked about this, even a minor technical violation of some complicated law can result in huge damages and fines and lawsuits. So, you know, that's one of the
And one
problems.
person shows up and tells you something's wrong and then you fix it. And then they come back or somebody else comes back after you fixed it. Then they show you something that the first person missed. I had our fire suppression person said, oh, you don't have your oven hooked up to a micro switch here. And I started thinking, I think Mary Ann asked me, she said, well, how come they didn't tell us this before? So, and I asked them, they said, oh, it must have broken. They didn't break, you know, so you never know.
Yeah. On the kind of the regulatory stuff, what about, I don't know if it's banned or the bill has gone to the governor for signature or the time of this conversation.
I never used it.
Potassium bromate.
I knew right away. I'm going with King Arthur flour from Vermont. There's none of that in there. I said, I'm not getting involved.
Okay. So with potassium bromate, it strengthens dough and it lets it rise quicker or.
So you could make the dough in the morning, I guess, and then you could use it in the afternoon. I just knew that there was controversy about it, and I wanted to use the best things possible. I didn't want to poison anybody. And I mentioned, carcinogens. I stayed away.
Okay.
You know.
What are other things? What about water? You know, between bagels and pizza, everyone, New York water, and you got places like, you know, who was telling me? My friend now lives out in California. There's a place that's flying in water.
If anybody ever tells you that they're flying in water from New York to make their pizza better, you tell them I said me. You don't have to say you. I said, Paulie Gee, that you're either stone cold liar or really stupid. Okay. Because you don't need that. And there is somebody, I'm not going to mention his name here, but if anybody knows the pizza community, you know this guy. He said, and he has a successful pizzeria in New York. He said, anybody who says it's not the water is a clown. And don't call people clowns. It's not tender loving fermentation. There's stuff that you could do to the water. You know, go out and buy, you don't use that much water to make pizza dough, you know. You could buy a few gallons of, you know, distilled water and you're good.
All right. That's
sorry,
good.
but
we also know because we have locations in other cities. And we've been to Chicago a number of times.
Using the water
and
there.
We have one in Columbus, Ohio. We have Philadelphia. And we go to these locations and the pizza tastes great to us. Okay. So we don't believe that.
All right.
And we're not clowns.
Yeah. And so what about, what's another fun time? Remember our former mayor Bill de Blasio, when he ate his slice of pizza with a knife and fork and people went crazy.
People don't understand. If you're eating real Neapolitan pizza, go to Song of Napoli on Houston Street. That's true Neapolitan pizza. You can't just pick that up. You eat with a knife and fork if the pizza is meant to be eaten with a knife and a fork.
All right.
New York style pizza, you got to take that thing and fold it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. See, I like this. This is the things people, I always find like the things in these conversations, there's certain topics that people just have such strong hot takes on and everything they want to talk about and they want to debate it. And I feel like, pizza, bagels, a few other things are just, people are obsessed, and people outside of the industry. I always find too, like there's conversations in the industry about, water and is it true or not? But for some reason, just the general public loves the debate too.
Well, I think, growing up in New York, people always felt like the New York water, because it comes from the reservoir,
I know,
was always the best. And it is very good.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, I think other water is also acceptable because we've had it.
When you walk into one of your locations, what's the first thing you look for? Both of you. Maybe Paulie, what do you?
I go right to the pizza.
Okay.
Make sure that's right.
And what are you looking for?
Well, on our Sicilian pies, I like a nice high rise.
Okay.
I like to see a good balance of sauce and cheese on our other pies. That's, I like to find pizza that hasn't been sitting out in the tray for too long. Say throw that away. Right there, I look to see if the pictures are straight on the wall. They're little things. If the picture's not straight on the wall, there's subliminally you're telling somebody that's, not that important. When everything's straight, I just spent a lot of money. I spent $12,000 re-putting up some of that old wall panel because, so you have to be sending a message to people that you care about. Yeah. That's what I look at.
When you walk
I care about the pizza, but I'm really about the people. Mm-hmm. That's my side of the business. You don't want to count on me for recipes, even though we had a cookbook come out last year. I don't want to plug it.
No, I want to actually ask you about it.
But in any event, you don't want the recipes from me. I've been very fortunate that he loves to cook. Yeah. So I've always played dumb, and it's worked great. I have friends that have called him for recipes, and I'm good with that.
Yeah.
He just loves it. He adores it. So I focus more on the people. I mean, when I go into any of the shops, I try to get to know people and I ask, I talk to them about their kids. I talk, that makes me happy, because I feel like, we're employing people and we're trying to provide a nice, safe, work environment where they're, no matter what they're doing, like they're important to us. Yeah. And that's very important to me.
And they got to be smiling.
Yeah.
If you're facing the public, you have to be smiling.
Sure. What do you look for other places when you go out? I know you want to go out and you want to have a good meal, but you're also in the business. So you're probably kind of looking around.
I feel like sometimes that's challenging because I feel like he does it too. You're always looking around at everything because you're trying to also figure out if there's something you could learn.
Yes.
Or you always see what's out of place. That's just me. When I walk in anywhere, even if it's to an event and I'm running an event, I used to run a lot of events. Okay. And even at my son's wedding last year, I knew like the bartenders weren't ready to move to the next spot. And it was giving me a lot of anxiety because I know, you kind of get to know how things are supposed to be moving through. Yeah. And so I'm always looking at things, but we go out and enjoy. Yeah.
What do you think has made people, I like the brand. I have to say, there's certain brands that I feel like people just connect with. There's like an emotional attachment when you see it. You don't just see it, you kind of feel it. And I feel like that with your brand. I was actually, my daughter recently was at a birthday party. It's like a climbing gym, Ninja Warrior.
Street.
Yeah. So I popped in.
The Ninja Gym?
Yeah, the Ninja Gym. Yeah. That used to be like the conference center or something, right?
Yeah, it was an exhibition center.
So I was there not too long ago and I popped in and look, but there's just something that I don't know, you just feel it, sometimes you can't describe it, but what is that about your business?
The first place we created, we hired these two guys, young guys from the neighborhood, who was just starting to build restaurants. It was they're now Home.
NYC.
Is it Home? Now, Home NYC is their website, I think.
Okay.
In any case, they built this place for us that was very unique. It was beautiful. And I know that people were coming there. Our pizza was good. It got better. But they were coming there. It was a seductive environment. And when we opened up the slice shop, I had this brainstorm that the reason we opened up the slice shop is because the Neapolitan style pizza doesn't travel well. And I stopped doing takeout. I never did delivery.
Yeah.
And I felt we were leaving money on the table, and I wanted to, the community wanted it too.
Yeah.
They'd beg me, oh, can't I just take it? I'm just going down to Transmitter Park. But in any case, I got this brainstorm that I was going to make it like the pizza shops I went to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And you go in there, you're subliminally, again, you're telling somebody my age that they could come in there and they could get that slice that they remember from when they were a kid. And somebody new wants to know what that was like, right? Somebody younger, just like vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
I always make this comparison. You used to go, somebody sees a vinyl record now, they want to pick it up. They want to remember what it was like to go in, smoke a joint, go in a record store, and and younger people want to experience that same thing.
Yeah.
And that's where that comes from.
Tell me about the book.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah.
I could plug it on here?
Of course. People should go buy it.
It's called Pizza from the Heart. And I mean, obviously it's our recipes and our stories, but it was really my project. Mm-hmm. And it had been in my mind probably for at least 12 years, because throughout this whole process, we've just had people come in all the time and ask the same questions. Yeah. How'd you do it? Why'd you do it? Because people knew we were older, so they weren't enamored with it, especially that we were never in hospitality. So, luckily, somehow it happens. But I always say to people also, things happen in its time. Mm-hmm. Like you could push things as much as you want, but till whatever lines up. Yeah. Because I've seen it in this business so many times. And it was just the right time, because we actually came back and we're living here full time, because the first 8 years we were not. Okay. We were just driving back and forth all the time. But in any event, it really is more about the story. I mean, I got the offer from a great, Hachette book company here. It was part of Union Square, was actually the ones that signed us. Mm-hmm. But basically, I didn't want it just to be recipes. They wanted it to be a cookbook. I really wanted more of a memoir. Yeah. But they weren't going to do that without it being a cookbook. It had to fall on a shelf. I'm starting to understand about publishing. Like we've just learned about so many things.
I'm sure.
But I was happy with the way it turned out. I really was, because what I wanted it to reflect was all the connections that we have and all the people that we've met in this journey, which has been incredible. All the friends we've made, all the collaborations we've had. Like we met Mike from Mike's Hot Honey. He was a pizza maker with us 16 years ago, and he's got his own great company. We knew the Van Leeuwens when they first started. I mean, there's just so many. Yeah, there's just so many stories, and I feel like that was something that I really wanted to share as more of sort of like an inspirational tool also. Because I say, I don't expect everybody to go do what we did. Everybody's different. But find something that you love at whatever age it is, and pursue it. Yeah. If you have a passion, just because I had that book in my mind, I'm not kidding, for at least 13 years.
Congratulations. Must be amazing feeling when you have some idea in your mind, and it's also telling a story of what you've created, and you get to share it with other people, which is similar like what you're doing at the pizzeria. You're sharing the experience, you're sharing your recipes with people. But, the bottom line is, I always say, it really isn't all about us. It's really not. And people look at us like we have 6 heads, because we're really, really fundamentally not business people. Yeah. We're people. Yeah. And when I say that, like real business people, like they don't get us. They just, sometimes we've done things that are a little crazy. Yeah. But it's felt right. I think that's also like the beauty of the business. You get people like you two that are doing it just because it's more than just a business.
Oh, and also you got to do what's most comfortable for you. If somebody put a playbook together how to run a restaurant, there are a lot of things I don't do because I'm not comfortable with it. Yeah. But maybe I'm leaving a little money on the table doing that. But I'm running it that's best for us. And again, it's people business. I love to talk to people. I have a curiosity. I like to meet new people. We have friends now that we met simply because they came into our restaurant. Wow. A number of friends. We got to dinner with them. We have them at our house all the time. So we're really, as far as I'm concerned, I hope Mary Ann agrees, living our best life.
You agree?
I do agree, but like I also say, nothing comes from nothing. Yeah. I mean, we've worked for it, certainly, and I'm trying to take a little bit of a step back here and there and enjoy it, but, we took a lot of chances, but I didn't really even realize it till I looked back and had to recount a lot of stuff for the book, like a lot of the crazy things we did. But, you know, I just knew it. I never thought it was going to be what it was. I don't think he did either.
What's been one of the most fulfilling parts of this journey and this experience for you?
Oh, he's going to get emotional. This happens. It's okay.
That's right. Take your time.
People over the years, they've come to me for advice. A number of different people. People want to open up a place. And a couple of years ago, we went to London. We won an award, 50 Top Pizza, whatever. And we were in a restaurant, great restaurant in London, Fallow. And somebody came up to me and they told me, they changed their career. They opened up a pizzeria after watching a YouTube video of me talking about it. Now,
in Wales.
That's Paul. Yeah, he opened up in Cardiff. He goes by the Dough Thrower. I mostly know people by their Instagram. You know, Dough Thrower, right? And somebody reached out to me, I don't know, a few years ago before the pandemic. Then they reached out again, and I forgot all about it. And one of the things he asked me was, you know, what do I need to do this? I said, we all have power within us. Another thing I learned from Amway, I remember people saying, we all have seeds of greatness within us, okay? And I knew that, like, I had to do this because I had to show my children what they were made of. I remember, you know, I looked at my father. That's what I'm. You know, I came from him. I must be like him. And I wanted my children to look at me and see success. And I said, I can't tell them that they should be successful if I wasn't successful. And so, and that happened. And they really helped me. My son, he really encouraged me to get my oven completed by the time he came home from the Air Force Academy for Thanksgiving. But this guy wrote to me, and one of the things I told him is, you have this power. You have sons. You can show them how to be successful. Use them. And I forgot all about him. And we have gone to Italy many times. And Mary Ann's heritage is partially from Ireland. And we finally got to go to Ireland. And our first stop was going to be Belfast. And I had talked to somebody who knows pizzerias in that area in Europe. And I said, any good place to go for pizza while I'm in Ireland? I know I'm going to have, you know, drink a lot of Guinness, but I would also like to try some pizza. And somebody said, yeah, there's this place, Flout, in Belfast. And it kind of rang a bell. And I said, that sounds familiar. I looked back and, sorry.
That's all right.
And I realized, this is this guy. And I reached out to him. I said, listen, we're coming. I'd love to come. Well, we're just opening up this new shop. We're moving, but I'll be there on this day. And we went from Dublin. We got on a bus to go to Belfast. And we went to that pizzeria. And I walked in. I'm sorry.
The guy was crying.
Came out from behind the counter. And he was crying. And I realized that what I was doing was, you know, was affecting people in other parts of the world just by being an example. And I, you know, there's nothing more rewarding than that.
Wow. What a wonderful story.
So I'm sorry that.
No,
you know.
It's, I always say it's just like food, small business, the human connection. That's what life is all about. And I feel like being in our industry allows you to share that and also experience that hospitality back.
What am I wearing right now?
Pizzeria Bianco.
Right, because I wear other people's hats. I pay tribute to them. We made so many friends. I have an account, Paulie Gee's Pizza Hat Project. I have almost 500 pizza hats in there.
Wow.
Now. And we're going to talk about another book now because I'm going to speak this into existence.
Beautiful.
Okay? I went to Sit Shiva. I had a friend. Her mother passed away. And there she had a friend she knew from when she was working, who I was telling her about my hats. And she said, that's a great coffee table book. We're going to do this book. And we're gonna do this book. I'm gonna do a Pizza Hut book there. So
beautiful, a lot of fun. I could keep going on. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but this is
I told you that was going to happen.
But no, but these are like the best stories that I love so much. You know, I mentioned, my family's bakery, but so I've seen for like family owned businesses, so many members of the Hospitality Alliance have, family owned businesses.
I'm going to interrupt just 1 second.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you said that was your family's bakery.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
sure.
you and Christopher Walken are in the same boat,
he was
right?
in Astoria. But going back, my great grandparents had bakeries in Brooklyn, and then they opened in Howard Beach on Cross Bay 60 plus years ago. And then my aunt sold the final bakery before the pandemic. But so then I worked there, and it's look, no matter what, whether you're born into the industry or it's something you come to later in life, I think it is just such a special experience for people to have. And being in the industry adds so much just texture to life in so many different ways. And I think that you both share that through the story of, Paulie Gee's and obviously the effect that you're having on people, in Ireland.
Yeah, just it blew me away.
Wonderful.
I want to thank you for doing what you do.
Because
you obviously love what you do, and you're very good at it because you love it, and you need to keep on doing it.
I appreciate that. That's why we do it, because it's all of you that give us the power and the inspiration to advocate for our industry.
Whenever I see your name or writing about something, I know there's no bullshit coming.
Beautiful. Paulie Mary Ann, thank you for coming on. Everyone should go buy the book. Give me the name of it one more time.
Pizza from the Heart.
All right. And where should they go? Where are the locations, really quick?
Well, we're in Greenpoint. We have a wood-fired place that's now a tavern called Me and Paul's. Okay, still doing our wood-fired pizza. We have a slice shop there. We have a slice shop in the East Village. We have one about to open, or maybe it's open already. I have to check. In Gowanus, okay? And in other cities, we have a wood-fired place in Columbus, Ohio, one in Chicago, and a slice shop in Chicago. And I'm looking for more people who want to open up shops. Philadelphia, where our son runs it.
The family business. This is Hospitality and Politics, powered by the New York City Hospitality Alliance. I am Andrew Ridgey. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we will see you soon.